We are back with another episode of the Kang Gang Pod. This is episode 7. Johnny, RT, and Cree, we're back to talk about the past 2 games, which were the Kings versus the Atlanta Hawks, and last night's game, an overtime thriller against the Toronto Raptors. So before we talk about the Raptors, it's only right that we talk about the win that we had, which was against the Atlanta Hawks. We won 123 to 115. Boys, what did you see? What stood out in that first half?
DeMar DeRozan getting to his mid-range, just looking so good. And especially in that third and fourth quarter, it just seemed like every time he got to the mid-range, he was just getting it in. It just worked so well. And then De'Aaron, who looked like he was the all-star that he was 2 years ago, led our team in points. I was so happy with just how we played that game. We played it. It was wire to wire. I mean, you can't just ask anything else for that. That's just so well done. Domas was very solid. Keegan had a lot of boards. I think we just played like a very well team-oriented win. And I just think it just helps with that 2-day rest that we just came out and just were like, we're going to take this one wire to wire. Basically just come into your house, walk in your trap, take over your trap.
Yeah. We looked well rested. Our starters played majority of the minutes. Only Monk, Ellis, and Lyles came off our bench. But, yeah, we got carried in scoring by DeRozan and D. Fox. They looked really good, looked really comfortable. Fox didn't facilitate as much because his shot was actually going in. He was 4 for 6 for 3. Only 3 assists, but when you score over 30 points, you don't need to pass that much.
That was his season high so far, 31 points.
Yeah.
And then DeRozan, man, his mid-range was just unstoppable. His efficiency in Atlanta was crazy.
Yeah, he's looking like he's getting comfortable in our offense finally, and he's finding his spots and he's finding ways to score, and it's apparent every time he gets in an ISO situation, like the other players on the court know that it's like his time. You know what I mean? They're able to just give him his space and let him cook. And then Keegan Murray has been a rebounding machine these last 2 games. I'm loving the way he's aggressive on the boards. You could just tell, like, if he doesn't jump for a certain rebound, Mike Brown's gonna, be on his case. So he had 10 rebounds against
Keegan and Mike's relationship is hilarious. Like,
hilarious.
Just how you were saying,
that. Yeah. As a young player, you need that. You need that accountability, not just from your teammates, but from your coach as well. So Keegan with 10 rebounds against Atlanta, 14 for Sabonis, and DeRozan and Fox led our scoring. Herter didn't shoot the best, but he was still, played good defense. And yeah, just an overall team win. Obviously, really relied on our starters there, but when you have a few days rest going into a game, you play your starters heavy minutes.
Yeah, I think we just, like you said, we played an all-around game. But the Atlanta Hawks, they found a way to stay in the game with the help of Garrison Matthews. Who had a career-high 7 3-pointers against us, which was just insane. Although we did lead the game all 40, like the first minute it was back and forth, but then the remaining 47 minutes we led that entire game. But Garrison Matthews with those 7 threes, it felt like he could not miss.
Yeah, because they cut it down to 4 in the fourth quarter, and then it was like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and then we were like, all right, it's time to just lock into that second gear and just take over, show these young kids like what it's like to close a game. So, like you said, they did make it very interesting. Garrison Matthews.
He kept him in the game
for sure, and he was the guy that normally would fill in for Bogey. I mean, we also got pretty lucky. There was no injury. Like, they had a lot of injuries coming in that game.
Yeah, Bogey was out.
I think DeAndre Hunter was out too.
DeAndre Hunter was out.
Yeah,
I know there was another big.
There was another Dyson Daniels.
We were talking about that because his defense he plays very good against the Sacramento Kings. If you look back to his time with the Pelicans, my God, he really locked us up back then. But yeah, overall, I mean, we got to the free throw line again 30 times. We made 26 out of 30 free throws. Again, heavy on the free throws again, which is just amazing. And then 3-point range, we weren't hitting at like the clip that we would want. We shot 33 3-pointers and only made 11. Pretty much Garrison Matthews almost tied us. And
the Hawks shot 50 3-pointers, right? They shot a good percentage, but I'm liking that we won the rebounding battle. We won the points in the paint battle, especially against Capella and Okongwu. Those are 2 really good bigs defensively. So it's encouraging to know that when our 3 isn't necessarily falling, we're still able to score in the paint, score in the mid-range, obviously, with DeRozan.
Which I prefer, honestly. I love seeing De'Aaron not rely on his 3-point shot as much. I love seeing him drive to the basket. Having DeMar DeRozan, that guy is lethal from mid-range. He loves the
Absolutely.
2-pointers. He loves scoring too. So, like you said, although we only made 11 threes, points in the paint, Sabonis and just all our other boys were really getting to it.
And when Garrison is going off like that, it can be infectious to the other players, right? Like Trey didn't have the biggest game ever, which was good. So it's nice to have a guy like DeRozan that settles our team down, like I was saying in earlier pods, so that it kind of throws their offense into a little whack. So if Garrison Matthews hits 3 straight 3-pointers, it's like, okay, Kings are scoring now, and we got to like keep our foot off the gas pedal a little bit.
And I could be, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Garrison Matthews has had a really good shooting performance in the past against us as well, right?
Yeah, he's a Kings killer.
He likes to play good against the Sacramento Kings for some reason.
Yeah.
And during that Hawks game, DeMar, he had 27 points, which it was his 5th straight. So he is now, I think, in Kings history, only him and is it Oscar are the only ones left with that 20-point streak to start a season. Sabonis had 15 points, 14 rebounds, a monster double-double, and he added 6 assists. Like you were saying, Keegan Murray, 14 points, 10 rebounds. Mike's
double-double.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to see Keegan Murray averaging a double-double this year. I think it's possible. I don't know about maybe at the end of the season when you look at his season average, but he should have many double-doubles this year.
I'd be happy with like 25 to 30. I think that's a good range for him because he's not like you want him to be a very good rebounder, and especially as one of our problems is that we don't have enough rebounding depth. So I think that is something that Mike Brown and like the entire team is like trying to push Keegan to be. While still having production. So hopefully, we get to that point where he has 30 double-doubles. And
I'd love to see that.
And I honestly, like 7.5 rebounds, I will be okay with. I think that would be a good number for him.
Yeah, he shot 1 for 6 from 3 against Atlanta. You don't anticipate that happening, more times. So it's good that even though his shot's not going in, he's still able to crash the boards and help the team because that's what Keegan is. I mean, he's a team player, right?
Oh,
we
for
know
sure.
him as that. So.
And then another thing, so Malik Monk coming off the bench, he only had 9 points, but he did get 6 assists. He was not the Malik Monk we're used to seeing, but a little bit of foreshadowing. He definitely turned things around the next night. But yeah, it was a good win. It doesn't really reflect that score of 123 to 115. We were pretty dominant the majority of the game up until the end where we did allow them to come back into the game, but we took care of business, and that's what good teams do.
Yeah, and I think this is a good example of how DeMar DeRozan can help our team, right? This is a perfect example of how that can happen when no one other than Fox is really scoring. I mean, we had so many games last year where that was the case, and Harrison Barnes really wasn't there. Malik Monk was having a tough night, and we just lost the game. But it's encouraging to see that Fox and DeRozan, our two-headed snake, as you can call it, carried our offense. And DeRozan shows that he's just a steady focal point for us, right? When Fox is going off, they can have a little 1-2 punch and we could still win games. Even when Keegan Murray shoots 1 for 6 or Kevin Huerter shoots 2 for 8 from 3, we have 2 guys that can get us a bucket. And I think everyone on that team knows that.
Yeah, and like you were saying with that two-headed snake, it's only 5 games in at this point playing against the Hawks, and they're figuring out how to play with each other.
Yeah.
And like you said, 31 points for Fox and then 27 for DeRozan.
Yep.
If you could get numerous of those throughout the season, we're going to be in very good shape.
Yep. 8 for 10 from the free throw stripe for DeRozan, 5 for 6 for Fox. That's what you want under your 2 best players. And
that's what happened, and that's how we got that win. One other thing I wanted to add about the Hawks game was this was another homecoming for Kevin Huerter. At the end of the game, I don't want to speculate, but I'm sure Kevin Huerter, was hanging out with the boys, and then he gets sick, and he doesn't make it to Toronto.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, he was definitely at Lou Will's
Magic City. City,
yeah. Some Buffalo
he has to
wings
pay
or
a visit
something.
every time he's back in Atlanta. So, I mean, I don't blame him for having a fun time.
He's got a few friends there for sure.
Oh, he has strong ties to Atlanta, that guy.
Very much so.
But, I mean, I could have waited till Miami. We really need this back-to-back.
I know.
Kevin, come on. You can go to Tiger whenever you want in Sacramento. Let's just pump the brakes a little
Hey,
bit.
but there's only one Atlanta. There's only one Atlanta.
We need these wins, man.
So that's a perfect transition into the next game, which was last night, the Toronto Raptors. It was a special night for Toronto for many reasons, but the main spectacle of that Toronto Raptors game was Vince Carter's retirement night. So he had a banner go up into the rafters, and they had Tracy McGrady was in the building, Drake was in the building. A bunch of other Toronto natives were there to support a legend, Vince Carter, who we were lucky to have on our team for a short period of time.
Yep.
Let's just talk about Vince Carter really quick. What stands out to you most about his career? What was your favorite memory from watching him as a young kid?
Oh, I would say the dunk he had in the Olympics against France. That's like number one comes to my mind. Just like him just posterizing somebody. And you just hear the stories because like De'Aaron Fox in his rookie year, he basically had an interview where they talked about the Vince Carter dunk. And it was like the guy that got dunked on couldn't show his face in France. Like he was like ridiculed to no end. It was basically like you can't show face. Like he was humiliated everywhere he went. Like it was that big of a, it was like that was probably the biggest start of a poster that it is to the 21st century, because there's like so many good posters. That one cements the posters in the 21st century. Like,
yeah, that was
so
definitely
cool.
one of the biggest dunks ever, right?
Ever.
Ever.
But we'll always remember Vince Carter as being this highlight waiting to happen, a good in-game dunker, a good dunker in dunk contest. Obviously had the most memorable dunk contest performance of all time. But I really enjoyed watching Vince Carter. Obviously, we were really young when he was in Toronto, but I really enjoyed watching him kind of progress his game and make changes to his game, right? When he would go to New Jersey and then Orlando to help them get to the finals, and then Dallas to help them get to the finals, or a deep playoff run, I believe. But it was really cool to see him transition into this guy who can shoot mid-range. He can shoot lights out from three. I'll remember his game winner in Dallas in the corner when I think it was less than a second on the clock or something like that. But it was really cool and that's how you play 22 seasons in the league. You're not just athletic, which he was, but you're able to change your game. You're able to fit into no matter what team you were on. And even when he was with us, obviously he was a lot older, but he helped us out a lot. He was a really good spot up shooter. He always made the extra pass, and he was always a mentor, right, to all our young guys in the locker room.
Yeah, that's big. And like you mentioned earlier, I think a lot of people, that's how you stay active in the league, is being able to change up what you need to do. You look at all like the all-stars that were in that 2000s, like Dwayne Wade had a long career. Vince Carter had a very long career, and you can tell like a lot of these guys, and we want to see the Kings be the same way. We want to see De'Aaron Fox play for 15 plus years. We want to see Sabonis play for 15 plus years. So it's kind of like a good message of knowing when to just keep your consistency and know when to just change things up when it needs to happen.
Yeah, once you lose that bounce, you got to find a way to impact the game. And like you said, 22 seasons. Insane. The only other person to do that is LeBron James. So that's some incredible company. And yeah, so obviously, rightfully so, Toronto needed to, they had all the give
energy.
him all the flowers. Yeah, and that arena was like, people were flying out from all across the world to attend that game. Like it was a very big deal because Vince Carter holds so dear to so many people. And like for me personally, like as a kid watching basketball when I was younger, like I remember I would lower the hoop to as low as it could go, like 7 feet, and I would practice dunks, and I would get the little mini trampoline and like mimic his dunks when I was younger. So like he had a big impact in my basketball life as well.
You could tell watching on TV that the energy in that stadium was a lot different, and it sucks that they had his honorary night against us, right?
And
right when we could use that energy.
And it was with the old jerseys too that Vince Carter wore.
Yeah,
so it's like
so that added to the moment.
Yeah, added the moment to it. But yeah, like that, all that stuff was kind of like fueled them into the tonight. And it was also the Davion Mitchell revenge game too. So it's just like so many factors.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot.
Let's start breaking it down, because this was Toronto's game to win. Like everyone, I think the whole world wanted Toronto to beat us that night.
For sure.
So the final score was 131 to 128. It was an overtime victory for Toronto. The Raptors were pretty much handling us the majority of the game. They were up almost double digits on us almost throughout the entire game. Their biggest lead was 13 points. Kevin Huerter, like we were saying, was sick, was not able to be in our starting lineup. So instead of starting Malik Monk or Keon Ellis, Coach Mike Brown puts in Doug McDermott, which, talk about that for a second.
That's an interesting choice. That's very interesting. I don't know if I would agree with that.
It was interesting to see. Obviously, he didn't play too much. He ended up with 15 minutes for the night, but he got to the line. He got 4 points. He went 1 for 2 from the free throw stripe, but he's able to make a 3. So
right
his minutes
away,
weren't
too,
too
right
bad.
When the game started.
Yeah, but yeah, he started him, but he didn't play too much, right? Malik Monk had 38 minutes off the bench. But missing Kevin Huerter that game actually hurt us more than we anticipated, because the Raptors are such a deep team, dude. Like they had 5 people come off their bench that each played at least 10 minutes. 4 out of the 5 played more than 14 minutes. So, yeah, we're joking about Kevin Huerter going out and partying and being sick, but it actually does hurt us against a team like the Raptors, who, no matter who's on their bench, guy 1 through 12, they all come in, they all defend, they're all athletic, and they threw everyone at us.
Their young guys are so good.
They're so good.
Jamal Shedd.
Yeah. They all play so hard.
Jamal Shedd was from Houston. Like, I watched a lot of college basketball. I was a big fan of Jamal Shedd. And he just looked so athletic. He looked so physical against like De'Aaron Fox. Agbaji looked so good. I mean, there's just Grady Dick. Like, that whole team is just so young, but they're like going to be very much a team that we're going to look at 2-3 years in the East and be like, watch out for these guys. And then you even have Scotty Barnes tonight. That's even the crazier thing.
And Emmanuel quickly didn't play. There was a lot of things that I was really surprised and shocked about this team because, obviously Toronto is a rebuilding team. They trade OG Anunoby, Pascal, Van Vliet. They let them walk for nothing, but they are completely starting fresh. Yeah. And the fact that they played the way they did today, I feel like they're going to have a very bright future. And
it seems like every player that gets in their system is just hard-nosed on defense and just plays so freaking hard.
Davion Mitchell fits perfectly into their system. And since he got the start tonight, since Emmanuel quickly was out,
he had some juice. Not only from the Vince Carter night, but just, the revenge game mindset. He came out and attacked us.
Yeah,
and we're talking about Garrison Matthews of the Kings killer. We had Chris Boucher going 4 for 6 from the 3-point line. I have a lot of
killers that I wrote down here. We'll talk about the stats after, but
that's crazy, dude.
There were so many times during the game where I'm like, I didn't know this guy had that in his bag. I didn't know, dude, I was stunned for a majority of the game. But
yeah, but when you have Drake and Vince Carter sitting courtside, you could see them when you're out there. Like, they're in clear sight, right? That adds something to it.
Also, Tracy McGrady was at that game, too.
Tracy McGrady, cousin of Vince Carter, so he had to be there.
Yeah.
So as a young player on the Raptors, if you're not getting the most minutes and you're going out there and playing 10, 14, you're playing every minute like it's
in
your
a sold-out arena, of course.
Like, this is their moment, the people, the players that don't, the Battles, the Sheeds, the Walters, those are the players that don't get much shine.
Jacoby Walter's another good guy I like too.
Jacoby Walter's good. They got a lot of young, great players. So you brought up Drake was in the arena. So that brings me to my next topic, which we really need to dive into because the internet's buzzing right now, rightfully so. So during the game, they're lifting Vince Carter's incredible career into the rafters, right? And then Drake hops on. Like you were saying earlier before the pod, Johnny, what were you saying? Drake is making this night all about himself somehow. So in typical Drake fashion, he wasn't even asked about DeMar DeRozan, but somehow he ties it to DeMar DeRozan and he says, oh, if DeMar DeRozan's banner was to be lifted up there, I would climb all the way to the top and rip it down.
Right.
Like, that is...
pretty uncalled for. Pretty uncalled for.
Yeah, that's clown behavior. We call that clown behavior.
People were saying Drake was taking a lot of L's. I definitely agree.
It's just not the time or place for it.
It's another L. And especially like what happened this year, getting bodied by Kendrick Lamar. I almost feel
he's very salty about clearly what Kendrick did to him has a long-lasting effect on how Drake just moves differently now.
And I get it. Like, he was showing DeMar love, in Toronto when DeMar was in Toronto, and they might have had this, particular relationship. But at the end of the day, he just made an appearance in a music video. I don't recall seeing anything in the media where DeMar spoke bad on his name or spoke,
he did the opposite,
ill towards him. He just appeared in a music video, and it's kind of like
to support Kendrick. They're both from Compton.
It's kind of like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of got to give DeMar the benefit of the doubt here, right? He's not bad mouthing you. He's not, talking bad on you. So what's the big deal?
Yeah, and even before the season started, a Sacramento Bee reporter asked DeMar DeRozan about like just where he stands like musically with Kendrick and Drake, and he's like, I'm cool with both of them. Like, he was openly like not picking a side.
Right.
I mean, they can't play Drake in this building anymore.
I mean, you love Drake. You love Drake. We always could play him. Kendrick been a friend of mine, family, damn near family. For a long time.
I mean, but from Drake's viewpoint, seeing him in the biggest music video of 2024, seeing DeMar DeRozan, who played for Drake's favorite team, I'm sure that left a very sour taste in his mouth. I'm sure. So he let the world know how he felt.
Yeah, he felt. Yeah,
and he actually let everyone know about a month or two ago when he unfollowed DeMar DeRozan and LeBron James for just being associated with that song and Kendrick Lamar in general. So Drake is clearly
Saltiness detected.
Yeah, very, very salty. Yeah.
Saltiness detected.
I mean,
This guy jumped into the Pacific Ocean. That guy got salty.
Yeah,
for sure.
he did for sure. No, it's like,
He landed at Salty Springs.
yeah.
Wait, is he- I thought he was a fan of the Toronto Raptors, not Salt Lake City, Utah Jazz. What's going on here?
Salty
no way. The salty spittoon. That's where he's at.
Hey, we can make puns all night about Drake's saltiness. I know.
But I was gonna say, anyways. I think that what Drake is doing is like he just needs to keep his mouth shut. Like that's what he needs to do. Like, why would you go on a radio or like a TV broadcast interview in the game, basically clown DeMar DeRozan and just say like they're going to take him down? And I don't really.
Backfired.
It backfired. It majorly backfired. And I loved DeMar's response. So
Tell us what he said.
he said he's got a long way to take it down because
He's got to climb a long way to bring it.
Well, he gonna have a long way to climb to take it down. So tell him good luck.
Which just shows that DeMar, he is so confident in what he did in Toronto. He's confident in his
He loved
career.
that community there.
He was the biggest
Or
part.
country.
I know. Yeah, it's a whole country. Yeah, like what that guy means to Toronto.
He was such a
It's almost
professional for
just
that
as
team.
equivalent as Vince Carter. So I mean, like DeMar was Toronto for that
Yeah.
long stint that he had there, and I think when it's all said and done, Toronto, I don't think they have a choice. They have to honor DeMar DeRozan some way, somehow.
They're hanging up his jersey for sure.
Or hopefully they make a statue that looks better than Dwayne Wade's, something.
Statues have been looking bad lately. But it's a shame because I like Drake. I like his music, but I think he's just picking the wrong person to go against. Like, it's like fight your battles with the right people.
Yeah,
DeMar
like-
isn't the guy that, especially on a night where we're supposed to be honoring someone else, it's not the time.
You can't
the
make,
time,
you can't
nor
make
the
it about
place.
yourself. You can't make it about yourself.
Or the person. Don't go after DeMar DeRozan.
The most humble guy in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's very well liked among his peers.
Right.
That's kind
And
of wild.
he's known to show love to your team.
Exactly.
To your country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's more to the story. You think this is it? There's a little bit more. So one more thing I wanted to add. There is a little bit of history outside of them just being DeMar playing for Toronto. They appeared in a very viral commercial together. I don't know if you guys remember, but Will Ferrell was in it. Drake was in it. And DeMar walks in and then Drake's like, DeMar, I talk about it. DeMar, I hate it, or something like that. Like, it was so funny.
That's ridiculous.
Excuse me? What?
This
Who's
guy.
talking?
Smart mouth over
Smart mouth. What's your name?
DeMar.
here. Demar.
Okay.
Demar, I say it, the less I like it.
That was a Saturday Night Live
I think
skit, wasn't
that's what it was. Yeah, Drake was hosting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so clever. That was hilarious. Like, they're
And that was
friends.
when they were besties.
They
Like,
were
that was when
friends.
they were, like,
and
hanging out all the time.
Don't let some silly rap beef like get in the way of that.
Right.
Especially like trying to take away from Vince Carter's special night. Clearly, Vince Carter was like, he was feeling every type of emotion last night. He was crying.
I watched that
he
whole
was,
thing at halftime. It was
Yeah,
really
it was
emotional.
it was so
crazy.
good. It was really well done too.
And he well deserved, obviously. And then one more thing I need to add about this. So after DeMar gives his piece on like when he answered that question after the game about Drake having to climb a long way up to pull that banner down, he goes onto his Instagram story and he clips a video from the movie Friday.
Sit your ass down.
Man, I got mind control over Debo. He be like, shut the fuck up. I be quiet. But when he leave, I be talking again.
I mean, it was just so perfect for what happened that night. But yeah, I mean, that was its own storyline in itself, and it definitely needed to be talked about in House of Highlights. They were posting it. They were posting clips of Drake mean mugging DeRozan every time he walked by him. He's just salty.
He is.
Yeah.
Hopefully DeMar uses this as fuel. I mean, he doesn't really need any extra fuel from how he's been playing for us this year.
I
But
know.
hopefully it gives him a little extra juice and we get some 30-point games with these 20-point games.
That's a perfect transition because DeMar definitely was fueled by that. He ends the game with 33 points.
Yep.
He, again, seeing that clutch in that fourth quarter and even in overtime, it was incredible to see DeMar just keeping us in that game. When it looked like at so many points in the fourth quarter, it was completely out of reach. DeMar just really he does what he does, and he keeps us in ball games, which is incredible to see. So let's just go down through the stat sheet. Domantas Sabonis had 17 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, which is his 60th triple-double. RT, what does this mean for Sabonis?
He passes Larry Bird for the 9th most triple-doubles in NBA history. The next non-active player that he will need to pass is Wilt Chamberlain with 78.
He's getting close.
He's going to get it this year.
He'll definitely pass
He'll
it
get
this year. He'll
Yeah.
definitely pass it this year. So that's just another highlight that happened from the game. DeRozan, 33 points. Keegan Murray, 16 points, 10 rebounds. He was a rebounding
Rebounds again.
machine.
Double-double, baby.
He's so good on the boards.
Something that did happen, though, late in the game was he got fouled out, which hurt us in the end because, we ended up going to overtime, and we definitely could have used Keegan Murray in overtime.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it is what it is. De'Aaron Fox, he's coming off a season high of 31 in Atlanta, goes to Toronto, back-to-back game. He drops 24 points, but he didn't shoot the best.
No, he didn't.
0 for 11 for 3.
Yeah.
Not the best.
Not the best. Not a good look. Especially because we all know, well, one, he is dealing with a pinky injury that affects his shooting hand too. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, he had like a pinky injury that was like that he's been dealing with. So it's like, one, you should not be shooting the ball when you've been known to not be like this best free point shooter in your career. I know the Steph Curry shoe deal has making him think this way a little bit, like shoot the ball, and like Luke Louts, shout out to him, like he's helping him be more confident shooting. But De'Aaron Fox is the best when he gets to the rim and when he gets to his mid-range. There's nobody better than him. When he is in control, he's able to take over those type of games. I think especially in that fourth quarter, he had like 13 points or something like that. Every single point he got was from the free throw line,
Being very aggressive.
in the paint, or in the mid range. So when your best player is shooting 0 and 11 and is not considered to be a shooter, you have to find other ways to get your other teammates involved or find ways to get more scoring involved. I think that De'Aaron Fox's mindset going into the next game should just be attack the paint. Get whoever we play, get them in foul trouble, get their best players in foul trouble, and just control the game from the free throw percentage.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen De'Aaron Fox go for 11 for 3. That's
it was
pretty
shocking.
wild.
It was shocking.
And we need more facilitating out of him. I mean, one assist out of your point guard isn't going to be good for your offense. No matter
He did
what.
good in that fourth quarter. I mean, he did score those 13 points. But yeah, does this 0 for 11? Does this scare you moving forward, or what does that mean to you watching the game?
We want De'Aaron Fox to be aggressive, and he has been shooting the ball well prior to this game. So I'm not too discouraged by his attempts. It's just you want to see if the shot isn't going in, you want to see him make a little bit more. So I like the aggressiveness. I think he should drive more, get more points in the paint. But yeah, I need to see at least 5 assists in a game where he's not shooting.
I agree,
that great.
and I think that as a point guard in today's NBA, you have to be able to at least average 5 to 6 assists a game. I think that's the standard.
One isn't going to cut it.
No, especially not. I mean, who led the league? Who led our team in assists that night? I don't even know.
Sabonis had 10.
Sabonis.
Yeah,
no one else had more than 4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's
right
concerning.
there.
That's
That's
very
not good.
concerning because when you're only getting probably 15 assists, you should be getting way more assists.
Especially against a team like Toronto that passed the ball really well. So they had 31 assists to our 21. So
Yeah, that's not good.
you're not going to win too many games.
Yeah, they outplayed us. They were just feeding off of that energy that Toronto's atmosphere was bringing. Malik Monk, he had a great game, 21 points, definitely a big bounce back from the previous game in Atlanta. Keon Ellis, 8 points, 2 steals and 2 blocks. So Keon took care of business on his end. But
Defensive end, yeah.
yeah,
I just think that when I watched that game last night, I saw that every time that we would make a run, Toronto would counter. And that's a sign of even though they're a young team, that's a sign that there's potential that they can be really good. And I think for us, we just kind of never really got into that space. Really, we allowed people that normally shoot to have good games. So hindsight is 20/20 in that point where it's like, okay, I get it. He's not the best free throw shooter or not the best 3-point shooter like Chris Boucher. He had 4 through 6.
yeah.
for
Let's
3.
talk about that.
I
There's a
wanna talk
lot of
about that.
guys on the Raptors that were very surprising.
We need
me.
to talk about the stats. It doesn't do justice what I'm saying.
Yeah, let's just talk about Toronto for a second. So RJ Barrett carried the team, 31 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists.
Dog.
Boucher, my God, he had 24 points, 12 of which were from the 3-point line. Yeah, shooting 4 from 6 from the 3-point. I did not know he's going to be competing with Karl Anthony Towns for the best shooting big in the league. My God, where did that come from? Am I just not a Toronto Raptor stan? And so do I just not know about his game? Or
just goes back to the energy in the building.
Yeah.
Right?
Toronto fans, if you are watching this podcast, comment why you think that Chris Boucher is a dog. I want to know everybody's answer, please.
Yeah, I was shocked. And I was also very surprised by Grady Dick. I did not know he had that insane mid-range fadeaways in the corner like that. He was hitting everything, and he's hitting contested threes.
Yeah.
That was insane. And then Agbaji, I mean, he had 22 points as well. He was killing it. And then let's just save the best for last. We have to give our flowers to Mr. Off Night, Davion Mitchell, who got the starting position tonight, and he went off. He played 37 minutes. He only scored 4 points, but he had 7 assists and 5 steals.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how many deflections. That guy was all over the court last night. I mean, obviously, for whoever gets traded and you play your previous team, you always have that extra chip on your shoulder, but also feeding off of that Vince Carter energy. Toronto just had our number that night.
A lot of working factors were against us that night.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, Darren's, like I said, he's not going to shoot 0 for 11 too many times, but you got to think Davion affected that, right? He was up on the ball pretty much all game, making Darren uncomfortable, had a lot of steals.
He clamped up DeMar at one point, too.
Right.
Causing a turnover.
Crazy.
He was a dog last night. I mean, that was our favorite part about Davion when he played for the Kings. He was just a defensive-minded machine, and Toronto got a good one.
Yeah, and their whole team fed off that. They really spread it out with scoring. 4 different players with at least 20 points, at least 22 points. So, they fed off every single ounce of energy they had, not just from the Vince Carter night, but with Davion coming back and going against his old team.
Yeah, it was a great game regardless. I mean, obviously, shooting 10 from 40 from the three-point line, that's not going to cut it. They ended up making 17 out of 37, so much better percentage than us.
Yeah.
And I think moving forward, I mean, it was a back-to-back. It was Vince Carter night. There's a lot of factors against us, but I still think we should have won that game.
Still a game we should have closed out.
I agree.
And I think it just comes down to assists, right? It comes down to your star player realizing that, hey, this isn't going to be my night tonight. Let me facilitate a little bit more. Did really well rebounding this game. Got to the free throw line. So we really hit a lot of markers team-wise. But I think it just came down to they shared the ball more and their three-point shots went in.
And I think we also, like in the beginning of the game, turned the ball way too much. I know that we had less turnovers, but that a lot of Toronto's turnovers came in that fourth quarter. And when you lose the turnover battle early, it's easy to get down and just basically just be down 10 where you have to like match a run just to be able to tie it. And then they counter, like I mentioned earlier. So turnovers, especially in the early parts of games, is something we need to clean up a little bit where we can be able to just control the tempo of the game. Because I felt like in the beginning, Toronto, we played too fast. And I think Toronto was able to bite on it, where it was like, okay, if you're playing too fast, we are just going to just catch you making mistakes and then just score in transition.
Yeah, they had 10 more fast break points than us. So I think on a night like where the team you're playing against on the road has all the energy with Vince Carter, with Davion Mitchell coming back to play your former team, you need to slow it down. You can't match their pace because they want to play fast. They want their young guys to run. And it showed with 10 more points on fast breaks than we had.
Yeah, and like what you were saying about the turnovers, yeah, we did have less turnovers, but only by 1. We had 18 turnovers for the game, and they had 19 turnovers for the game.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up, that overtime, we didn't use the timeout to like just slow down the pace until the very, very end of that overtime. That was something that me and RT were talking about while watching. Like you said, when they were going on those runs, we weren't getting the free throw line to slow the pace, especially in overtime. I felt like that 5 minutes went by so fast, and like a timeout just when they went up 4 would have helped, just talk things over. Maybe that would have been a good time for Fox to acknowledge like, hey, like DeMar, you got it. Like this is all on you, like
draw a play.
Exactly. But just something just to like change the pace a little bit for us and just try and fight back. But yeah, like that whole game was an uphill battle. Like we didn't have control over that game once, that entire game. And with how bad we did play, only losing by 3, can't complain too much, but
I agree. I feel it's better than last year because I think last year we lost by like 17 or something.
Because we were down 13 the majority of the game.
Yeah,
I think last year they would have blown us out earlier, way earlier. But Yeah,
and we'll have another crack at Toronto in a few days, right? We play them on the 6th, so
on our home court too. So
Yeah,
so
that's
we'll
gonna
have
be-
another crack at them. It'll be a good test for us.
Yeah,
to
it'll
see
be a
if we
good
can bounce
test.
back.
I agree.
yeah, we got to retire someone's jersey when we play Toronto so we could get back at them.
Yeah, seriously. Have
Yeah.
a baby retirement jersey or something that night.
something. But yeah, one more thing I wanted to add before we move on was we've lost 3 games this year by a total of 9 points. So when we lose, we're barely losing.
Close.
And when we're winning, we're blowing them out the window. So, hey, green pastures ahead. So that brings us on to tomorrow's game against Miami Heat. What have you seen from Miami so far, and like, what do you think we need to do to take care of business tomorrow?
Miami's like a similar team like Toronto. They're well coached. They have guys that play really hard. They have Kings legend Alec Burks on their team, who's
I actually didn't know
pretty solid
he's
for
over
them.
there right now.
Yeah, he is.
Oh wow, good for him. I did not know that.
Yeah, and then Bam Adebayo is always giving us trouble, so that's going to be the matchup to watch. Bam versus Sabonis. But yeah, they're similar to Toronto. We got to rebound. We got to share the ball. We're going to need our big time scorers to score, but they're going to come at us just like Toronto did.
Yeah, I mean, that team is just so well coached. I mean, when you look at all the coaches in the NBA, Eric Spoelstra has been such a top 5 coach for his era, like just multiple finals appearances, taking Jimmy Butler teams to the finals, which is insane. Like you ask any other coach to do that, I think they basically lose in the first or second round. But the fact that Eric Spoelstra has like taken teams to the finals that have just like shocked everybody. They were a 1 seed and they lost to Boston in 7 a couple years ago. Eric Spoelstra is a really, really good coach. So he's going to have a game plan for us. It's not going to be an easy one. Yeah. I think we just got to just control the glass, control the pace. And I think if we do that, I think we have a really good chance of winning.
Yeah, we're going to have to play a complete game too, because Miami they fight to the last buzzer. Right.
Yeah, they're a much better team than Toronto, so we can't replicate what we did last night.
Oh, they would kill us by like 15 plus.
Exactly.
But they're similar to us, so they have Bam facilitate a lot of their offense. So that's why I'm saying I think the matchup is going to be Sabonis versus Bam. We can't let Bam get comfortable. We can't let him get his spots because that's when Hero gets cooking. I mean, even Bam can, Rozier can give us like 20, 25 if he's making his threes. So we got to make sure that they don't get in the paint and that Sabonis, has interior defense locked that game. I
do think we match up pretty well against them. I think, we just really need to take care of rebounding the offensive glass. We really need to just. I think if we control the rebounding game, I think we should be able to take care of business.
I also think we should avoid fourth quarter Jimmy Butler at all costs because that dude, when he, especially, it doesn't matter if it's regular season or postseason, but like Jimmy Butler is just also good in the clutch too. Yeah. He's like a very underrated player. He just does it all for that team, and so as long as we can slow down Jimmy and Bam, I think we have a really good chance of winning.
And Tyler Hero plays great against us. He's another Kings killer. We really need to make sure we limit his 3-point shots. We just need to force him to drive. And I think if we have great perimeter defense tomorrow to handle the glass well, I think we should upset Miami on their home court. That's my prediction.
And the road trip strong.
Yep.
I would love to see it. So
I love it.
Miami tomorrow. Hopefully we go up 4-3, but let's hope for the best, boys.
Let's hope for the best. Before we close out, I do want to talk about the Western Conference as a whole right now and just kind of see like where we are, do a little pulse check, see where all the other teams are, what's surprising you guys about the West, what are some teams that are surprising just in general, and all that stuff too. So yeah, doing a pulse check. Yeah, we're doing a pulse check right now.
Yeah, because right now my pulse is... I think it's normal. I think I'm at a normal pulse right now. We are 500, but Johnny, can you take us down from top to bottom in the Western Conference?
Yeah. So first seed Thunder 6-0. I think a lot of people saw that coming, right? They look like a team
without Hartenstein too. It's pretty impressive.
Suns 5-1, Warriors 5-1, Lakers 4-2, Mavericks 3-2, Grizzlies 4-3. Timberwolves 3-3, Spurs 3-3, Rockets 3-3, Pelicans 3-3, Nuggets 3-3, Kings 3-3, Clippers 2-4, Trailblazers 2-5, Jazz 0-6.
I mean, the West is just so tough, man.
West is stacked. Let's talk about what is surprising you at the moment. I think the Warriors are surprising at 5-1. That is, I don't think anyone was expecting that. I think they projected them pretty low in the standings
with
overall.
Curry out too.
Yeah.
Curry's missed a few games.
Buddy Hield is just shining out there.
Yeah, popping off.
Yeah, he heard our pod. Buddy Hield definitely heard our podcast. So I just heard him talking smack, and he just looks like such a different player. Like I don't know what it is. It's the Warriors effect. It's just so crazy, and like That's a team that's been really surprising me. I think
Is Phoenix surprising you at 5-1 to start?
they are. I do like a lot of their players. I really like their rookie Ryan Dunn. I think he's a very, very solid player. 3-and-D guy, can block, and he just fits as such a glue guy for that team. It just looks so flawless. Like he had a game against the Clippers where he had double figures, was playing active on both sides, was a 3-and-D guy, very long, very lanky. And then Booker and KD, they look really good. So I'm not really surprised by them. One team,
Tyus Jones addition.
yeah, the
really
Tyus
helps.
Jones
They really
is
needed
so
that point
big.
guard to
Yeah.
just facilitate for Booker and Durant just to make their lives a little bit easier. And,
Yeah.
and you're seeing it worked. 5-1 to start.
Yeah.
Phoenix's whole thing is durability, right? So the start doesn't really surprise me, but it's the fact that all their players can stay healthy throughout the whole season, throughout all 82. But yeah, 5-1 doesn't really surprise me too much, especially with how Dunn's playing and Tyus Jones too. So
I think it's a little bit of a sigh of relief to see that Timberwolves are struggling a little bit, 3-3. Denver's struggling a little bit. What was Denver, right?
Denver is massively struggling.
Denver's 3-3 as well.
3-3 as well.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of Denver this last week, and they just don't look like the same team that they were 2 years ago. They are playing very close games. They've barely squeaked out 2 games against Toronto and I think Brooklyn. Shout out Jordy Fernandez, by the way.
Yeah.
Shout out him. But I just think that the depth does not look the same. I think this team is starting to look like a play-in team. Where
I love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I wouldn't mind
Not
it.
against us in the
Not
play-in,
against, not against us, but not against us. But like, just based off the fact that when you lose Bruce Brown 2 years ago, then you lose KCP, which are both very veteran role players, and you kind of like have to rely on youth. You have to rely on Russell Westbrook. An aging Jamal Murray is like, he's not looking the same. So, and they're just overutilizing Jokic. It's just not like a recipe for success for that team right now, and they are in massive, massive trouble.
Because if they put all of their, put everything on Jokic's shoulders, if you need him to score 35 to 40 points a game just to stay in a game against a Brooklyn or a Toronto team, I don't know how sustainable that is for an 82-game season. So I know, but
the season's still early.
it's obviously very early.
It's encouraging to see there's a lot of teams in the West that are 3-3 like us.
San Antonio.
Yeah, and even the Lakers and Mavericks at
Houston.
4-5, have a couple losses. So I think we're still, another winning streak away to getting in that top 3 seed, but it's still super early.
I feel one coming for us.
There's coming. It's coming. Starts
So
on
right
Monday.
now, one more thing before we end today's episode. We're 3-3, 500. Our predictions earlier, a couple weeks back, were 7-4, 8-3, best case scenario. Where's your confidence at now, boys? After making those predictions,
I'm still confident.
I'm confident.
I'm still confident. I think if we have a nice little streak, I think if we go, because there's 6 games, right? And there's 5 more to go. I think if we go 4-1 in that stretch,
4-1 would be great.
4-1 is a perfect stretch. I think that would be great for us. And I think we're capable of doing it. It's going to be tough, but I think
Nothing in life is easy.
Nothing's easy. I think if we're above 500 in an 11-game stretch, that's going to be a really big key for us, and I think that will help us out a lot.
That's what we need to shoot for, is to be above 500 after 10 games. Because we've seen too many times where a one loss can turn into 5-6 game losing streaks, and we just can't let that happen. If we take a loss, we need to make sure we can bounce back from a game.
Yeah, especially because
that'd be a good sign for us.
Especially since we're a really good team too. That's a huge thing. I think if we somehow get on a big losing streak, it's going to be hard for us to climb back into it. So you just have to understand, you have to take one loss and just be like, okay, we got to move on and do the next stuff. So yeah, we just got to just be able to take advantage of our schedule.
Let's take care of business these next 5 games, boys.
Let's do it.
Let's get it, boys.
Let's go.
As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for another great episode, boys. And subscribe, like, comment, share with Kings fans, share with Raptors fans. Just spread out the word.
Yes.
We love what we're doing over here.
Yeah,
share it.
We're not going to stop.
Yes, and thank you again. When this recording is out, tomorrow this will be out tomorrow.
Or tonight, maybe.
Yeah, maybe tonight. Maybe tonight. But again, our giveaway on Instagram ends tomorrow night. We will be picking a winner tomorrow, so make sure that you follow our Instagram page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, thank you again for 150,000, or not 150,000. I'm like, I wish.
One day.
150 subscribers. That would be nice too. We'll get a plaque up there one day. But thank you again for 400 followers on Instagram and 150 subscribers on YouTube. Can't wait to see what's next. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching. We love you.